Hey everyone, how are you doing today? I just thought I would pop in for a little bit. I was supposed to be doing an interview this morning with Karen Can, but she can't make it today. So that's okay. Stuff happens in people's lives. But I thought today that I would still just come on and talk to you about something that I think is super important. And I'm going to talk to you about forgiveness and mercy. Um, Mercy is not a word that we hear often, but it's something that we need to do. We need to show people mercy. We need to show people compassion, and we certainly need to be forgiving. So, what does that mean? Right? What does that mean? So, let's talk a little bit about what that means. People hurt us. They do. Let's face it. We grow up, people say things, they hurt our feelings. Or they hurt us physically, or we randomly meet someone somewhere on a street and we get hurt. People take advantage of us. People cut us off on the highway. People say rude things to us. So compassion's a very interesting thing. Compassion and forgiveness and showing mercy to people. And I think a lot of people, like when I'm working with my own clients, this is always a big deal. This is a big deal because people don't want to forgive right away. They think that if I forgive someone that has hurt me, then I will need to, I don't know, they have to be my best friend. Oh, Karen just actually did jump into the studio. So that's great. So we're going to go into that a little bit more. I'm going to bring her in first. Hi, Karen. How are you?
I'm sorry, I'm a minute late.
That's okay. That's okay. We were just going in and talking about and we'll do your intros in a second, but we were talking about the importance of compassion, mercy, and forgiveness. And how people do things to us in our lives, knowingly, unknowingly, on purpose, by accident, whatever, but how important it is to show forgiveness to people, and even if they don't accept it, and even forgiving someone doesn't mean that you now have to invite them over for dinner.
Right.
Right. Yeah. So it's for ourselves. How do you feel about forgiveness?
That it's great that you're talking about this topic because, I was with a colleague of mine who Jenny No.
Right.
And she was doing an abundance package, and she said, "Oh, I made a great discovery, Dr. Karen. It has to do with some of the work that you do." And I said, "Okay, great. What is it?" She says, "I have found in my conversations with Source that self-forgiveness, forgiveness of others, and self-responsibility are the three most important keys to abundance in 360 degrees of your life." Right. So because of what we do, we can actually measure someone's self-forgiveness score, if you will, and their forgiveness of others score out of 100%, and their self-responsibility score. And it's fascinating how it really is so accurate among, when we do our clients and people, and we have found really interesting that there's a larger percentage of people who have more trouble forgiving themselves than forgiving others.
They do. That's the biggest thing. Forgiving yourself is huge. I was going to get into that. So forgiving yourself is huge. My dog always barks when I'm on Zoom. Hey.
No. I didn't let mine in. I shut the door.
So I think someone's delivering something. So the interesting thing about forgiveness and that is that people also expect that they're going to forgive somebody all at once. And that it takes time. So if someone's hurt you, let's say someone's accosted you, assaulted you, or you grew up with a parent who was, not the ideal parent, they had some challenges. So you don't have to say, okay, I'm going to forgive that person and expect that you're going to forgive them all 100% that day in that session. It's not going to happen. It's in pieces. You've got to do it in pieces, and you're doing it for yourself, not really for them. If they benefit from it, great, but it's really for you.
Right. You might have already mentioned it, but there's a great saying, a quote that says, not forgiving someone is sort of like drinking poison and thinking the other person's going to die.
It's true. It's true. Like, some people that are going to hurt you, they may never know that you forgive them. Let's use something like that's way out there. I want to use something like if someone gets, I don't know, raped or beat up or something, you're not really going to have a relationship with that person. That forgiveness that you do is within yourself. That forgiveness that you do is work that you do on you so that you're not carrying that poison around in your body anymore and holding that grudge anymore. And it's such a powerful energy, I think, forgiveness and compassion.
Right. And what's really interesting, at least in my work, is that we call those positive things, if you will, positive morphic fields. So Dr. Rupert Sheldrake popularized the term morphic fields or morphogenetic fields. And so there is like a frequency or sets of frequencies or blueprints for every single thing in our manifested universe, including there's a positive morphic field for compassion. There's a positive morphic field for self-forgiveness. There's a positive morphic field for forgiveness of others. There's a positive morphic field for self-responsibility. And in my work, what's fascinating is we can actually test this in people. And we have found people disconnected completely from the positive morphic fields of one of these things. And then what we do is we download and activate them back to them. So we reconnect them to that field, and then their scores jump up and their life starts to shift. So some people are like, I can't, I don't know, I'm trying to forgive this person. I'm trying to forgive this person. It's not working, blah, blah, blah. They may not have the positive morphic field for forgiveness of others. So we can actually give it to them, and it just makes it so much easier.
It is easier. It is easier. And I do believe that we're all, I like to believe that we have the ability to do almost anything. And I think it's just really connecting to that. So probably when you're giving it to them, you're helping them to connect to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then compassion.
It's like being like a midwife, like.
Yeah, I hear you. And then compassion, people don't understand compassion that much. They don't understand what it means, right? So compassion being that you understand where someone's coming from. You might not like what they're doing. You might not like what they're saying. It may not be for you. It may be beyond their boundaries. But I think what happens is we think that everyone needs to think like us, right? So everybody that you're associating with, our natural way to think is that everybody thinks like me, right? So it's an automatic acceptance of that everyone thinks like me. We don't actually say that, but we think that. And when someone else does something, we're like, what's wrong with them?
Yeah, like, can't you see the truth of this?
Right.
Like, can't you like, are you nuts?
Which is their perception and their truth and what their experience has led them to do, which might be different from your experience and how you would handle things. So compassion is sometimes really just about understanding that someone may not have ever been taught in their life what it's like to be affectionate. Maybe they never experienced it. They don't know that, right? And understanding that not everybody has the same stuff in their store. That we don't all have the same products in our store. And if we don't have it, we don't know that we're supposed to have it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And compassion actually comes up a lot in one of the things that we test for people in the Topicana healing method. We call it the soul experience template. And for me, that is one of my 4 that it's sort of like going to an amusement park and saying, before incarnating into a human body, and your guide or whoever is there going, hey, Dr. Karen, what do you want to experience as a human this time around? You've been on the merry-go-round, you've been on the Ferris wheel, and I'm like, oh, I want to do the fun house this time, or I want to do the horror, the horror ride, right? And then what happens is that then there's like kind of a wish list of what I want to experience, and compassion was on my wish list. And I don't know if you feel comfortable with me sharing my screen, but I'll actually show you the chart that we used for that if you want.
Sure.
So I'll go ahead and let me go right here. So can you see my screen? I know it's a little small, So this is the chart that we use in one of our courses. And what it is, oops, let me see if I can make it bigger here. View. Okay, there we go. Let's make it twice as big. Okay, there we go. So most people have between 1 and 4 of what they asked to experience at the amusement park, right? So one of mine was compassion, to experience that, both self-compassion and compassion for others. So what happens is that when we know what our soul experience template is, the universe will often conspire in a positive way to give us sometimes a contrast to what it is we say we want to experience it, so we can experience it in the human body. So in my case, physical pain was something that was created or co-created by the universe, so I could experience that in my body, so that I could have compassion for others also experiencing that as well, and also self-compassion. So the pain was intricately linked to what I said I wanted to experience in my timeline. And other people, it might be that they go through a horrific, experience of rape or abuse or something like that. And that it could be, and I'm not blaming them or saying anything bad like that, but it could be to give them a contrast. The most common in that particular scenario would be power.
Right.
Power. So they asked to experience power. And so they had to be disempowered before
in order to experience a power. Okay.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
Interesting way of looking at it, for sure. Interesting way of looking at it. Yeah, it's cool. There's so many different ways of doing things. I just love that. So what is it that you're now doing? What are you going to be teaching? I mean, I already know, but what are you going to be teaching? What courses do you have inside of iAwesome?
Yeah, so inside of iAwesome, I have a course called the Intuitive Decision Making Roadmap. And it's all about being able to use multiple different ways, including your own body, for intuitive information, so you can make better decisions for yourself, for your family, whether that be related to your health or related to, which is of course my passion is health, because I'm a medical doctor, but also, your life, your livelihood, your relationships, whatever it is you have questions on. So what we do is help people get connected to the 0 point field. Some people call that source or God or the divine wisdom or inner wisdom, whatever people want to call it. I call it the stillness, right? So that they can actually have accurate answers. So we teach them how to use their body, right, in body dowsing, or what we also call divine muscle testing. And then we also, in module 2, because the first module is actually free, that the entire, how to do muscle testing is free. And the second is that module is on what we call correcting. So the first one, we're testing out using our bodies, how to do divine muscle testing. But there are some people who are highly sensitive, like me, who may have some glitches in their attempts to muscle test. Sometimes they feel too much, and sometimes they'll feel their neighbor, or they'll feel mass consciousness, or they'll feel the president, or they're empathizing too much, and then their muscle testing goes down the drain. So we help them correct some of those things by increasing their boundaries, also figuring out, hey, how do I test to make sure that I'm testing as accurately as possible? And then the third module, we call that internal muscle testing. So internal muscle testing is how you don't even have to move your physical body to sense a yes or a no inside your body by checking into the flow of energy. And then the fourth module is intuitive impressioning, which is actually an entire chapter in my Sensitivity is Your Superpower book on how to do that. And so folks actually get the chapter as part of the package in iAwesome, is to learn how to apply that feeling within your body to specific situations, like feeling into people to help make decisions, right? Whether that be Christmas present for grandmother, or when do I ask for a raise from my boss? What's the best time? How do I go about it? What words should I use? All that kind of stuff. Right. To being able to look at situations. Should I move to another town? And what would it feel like if I moved to this town versus this town versus this town? So just multiple different ways of getting intuitive information so people can make better decisions. So I'm super excited about that launching on iAwesome.
That's amazing. That's amazing. All right. And I'm going to ask you one more question. Well, I might ask you two more. So one more question is, what made you decide? I mean, I know I came to you and I asked you to be a part of iAwesome, but what made you say yes?
Well, actually, Jenny No referred me to you, so I talked to you first. You So, one of the things two things I wanted to share. Number one was that you first told your story, how this came about, how you got the guidance to create this. And I could tell from the story and the synchronicities that it was just an automatic yes. Honestly, like even before when Jenny was saying, you gotta, check it out. It's really cool. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't, no, I'm too busy. Like, how can I, be involved with yet something else? But there was something that intuitively, of course, said, just get on that call, with Aisha. So when we did, and you told your story, I was like, wow, I really want to help bring this vision to fruition. I think it's really, really important that the work that you do. And I've always imagined, and I used to be a professor at UCLA, teaching medical students and residents, and I loved being faculty, at the university. And I just love how in iAwesome, it's that safe space for students to come to. They don't have to worry about necessarily revealing stuff on Facebook that may be censored or negative, or, people like coming down on them and things like that. So they have that safe space that they can really talk freely. Because right. Unfortunately, just the way things are at the moment, there are medical colleagues, healer colleagues of mine that have been silenced, that have been censored unfairly, in my estimation and perception. And so they can't speak to their followers in a certain way, or if they choose to, they've been deplatformed, right. Or shut down completely. So at least in iAwesome, it's like, hey, this is an educational institution. This is like sacred walls here. You know what I mean? Facebook is not going to be like spying on us inside or Google or whoever, right. And so it's a really great space. And last night I actually had difficulty sleeping, not because of this interview, but I think I drank a little bit too much Chinese tea at the end of the day. But I had this amazing excitement about iAwesome because I knew we were going to talk today. And you don't even know this, but I'm actually going to be launching my Light Warrior training camp, which is the live version of, a lot of the things that we do in the book. And we've done it live and in person at the Omega Institute before. And so that is, I've talked to Source, that is going to be in the summer, probably July.
Nice.
When that's happening. Yeah. So what I'd love, is to have that safe space, for my students, to be in, if they choose to, obviously, partake in this. And there are some things I would really love to share with them, but I'm really not comfortable sharing it on Facebook or Instagram in those, platforms. And I think that for those that really want to know what I do, like in a deep level, there's some things that would be probably pretty fascinating. And then I could feel much, much greater, like just sharing freely. And it's so wonderful to have such amazing faculty. I know when you said, when Jenny said, Bob Doyle's part of it, I just heard that name from a friend of mine, literally out of the blue, like hadn't heard that name in 10 years, more than 10 years, really. And I was like, okay, I'm supposed to pay attention. That's how the universe is communicating to me.
Yeah. That's awesome. So if you were going to give somebody, I'm glad you're with us. If you were going to give somebody a quick tip right now, or a strategy right now that they could just bring right into their life, what would that be?
Yeah, I think my favorite one, the ones that, I've written multiple times in multiple books because it's so key, is what I call stillness through observing internal movement. Now, I deal mostly with people that are highly sensitive, and I would say a lot of people who are spiritual seekers seeking self-mastery, they're in that camp. They're naturally more sensitive. They have a natural pull towards the healing arts, to self-mastery. And so what can happen, though, is that they can be overwhelmed with the energies of the planet and what's going on with mass consciousness. It can be very overwhelming. So one of the best things they can do is get into that stillness space. However, because I am a very busy person, like being very busy, have not been very good at sitting meditation. It is not in my programming or DNA to sit there that long, and meditate. And I've had a lot of sensitive people and non-sensitive people say, oh, I can't, I just can't do 60 minutes a day. Like Dr. Dispenza wants me to do 45 minutes every single day for 6 weeks. I just can't do it. Like, I just can't make myself do it. I said, okay, it's okay. The stillness on the fly is actually a way to do stillness while you're doing other things.
Yes.
So what we do is actually get people just to feel the energy in their body. So, in the books and the program, we teach people to like move their body, get some energy moving, close their eyes, and people can do that right now if they're listening in and feel the energy traveling in their body. Eventually, you'll be able to do it with your eyes open. And even if somebody else is distracting you
Right.
by talking, you can feel the energy, and you're just observing the energy in your body. And for sensitive people, they're already feeling so much.
Yeah,
You might as well turn that talent inwards.
exactly.
And when you're feeling that energy, guess what? We get connected to 0 point. And from that space, you can do all sorts of cool things. The body can naturally heal. Whatever you say you want in your new reality can then manifest easier. You can dissolve negative emotions in that space. You can do healing work in that space. So it's free. Like, it's not, you don't have to take some big fancy course. Now, of course, I have it to teach, but and it's free, but you don't have to be like, I got to be meditating for 12 years in a monastery. Oh, so 2 minutes a day, 1 second here, 5 seconds here. I'm doing it right now. I'm talking to you, Ayesha, and I can just feel the energy going, woo,
yes.
woo.
I'm always very focused on, what I'm feeling in my body. So excellent. Thank you so much for coming in this morning and talking to me and being a part of iAwesome and supporting us and all of that. It's so amazing.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. You're doing great work. And I know anytime we launch something, it's like scaling a big, mountain.
It has been
work, a lot of dedication. There's going to be obstacles along the way. I mean, you've handled it with such grace. I know it's, some challenges as anything worth building, is going to have those challenges. So I am so looking forward to, bringing, my folks in, expanding it, launching the program, the next program in the summer, the Light Warrior Training Camp. And just hint, there'll be like an early bird price. So thank you, Ayesha, for everything.
You're welcome. Thank you. All right. Thank you so much. And thank you all for watching. And we will talk to you soon.